Hello, my name is Jasmine Keys, and you are tuned into Reuters Events Women in Marketing series, where every other Tuesday I sit down with one of the most inspirational and driven leaders across the globe. Today, I am joined by Liya Sharif, the Vice President of Marketing and Head of Brand for Qualcomm, where she leads brand practice, strategy, and management, including advertising, creative services, paid media, partnerships, and sponsorship marketing, and content marketing as well. That is a big role, Liya. How are you today?
Great. Hi there, Jasmine. How are you?
I'm good. Really excited to be sitting down with you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I was mentioning in some of the messages when people were joining the webcast that this really is my favorite part of the week.
I would imagine you're just having a nice chat with some different people. That's wonderful.
Exactly, and it's awesome. Now
I think I want your job.
You know what? You can join me. We can interview people together. I'm totally up for that.
Good mornings. I'm up for it. Let's do it.
Let's start a podcast.
Another one. Need more podcasts.
Oh dear. Now we've only got 20 minutes. So I want to quickly remind the audience that this is a live discussion and we want you to be a part of it. So please use the chat box and share your thoughts, ask questions through the Q&A function. And really just get involved. This is an open conversation and we want this to be open and a discussion between us all. So let's just dive right into a really big question, Liya. And that is, why is diversity of thought so important?
Well, it's very important. I think it's a really interesting topic that you're unpacking it today. I think diversity of thought and perspective gives you a much better outcome. And as part of that, it really brings much better results to organizations and teams. We are all human. We come from different places. We come from different cultures. We have different backgrounds and education. And our judgment and actions are really limited in a way of how we have been experienced and what we have experienced. Our experiences are really, we have access to what we have experienced in the past. And by diversifying teams, you are multiplying those experiences and you're broadening the set of ideas and thoughts all around. And in that sense, you're really coming up with the most interesting outcomes and solutions. So that's really why it's so important to diversify thinking on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about the global perspective as well, because obviously marketing, we're trying to reach a global audience, aren't we? Well, most organizations are trying to reach a global audience. So how does that come into it?
Well, I think that you need to have a broader representation in marketing. The strength of marketing is really creating appeal to humans all around and them seeing themselves in either your product or your solution or your offering. And once people see themselves in that, once they see that they are represented, that those ideas of their own come through in our marketing program, they really can relate to it better. And I think we have much more success in accessing the people we're trying to reach by diversifying. Program.
That's absolutely right. And it's diversity in education, diversity in your career path, in your gender, in your race, in everything that you can be as a human, that we are as humans. That sort of diversity is what makes for better organizations and a better world.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, it really is about more accurately representing humanity. And so by diversifying in your programs, diversifying your team, you actually can access ideas that are relatable to others. You're making it much more relatable and accessible to everyone because they see themselves in it. And so that's really what diversity gives organizations.
Yeah, that ideation, that innovation, it's just strengthened with diversity, isn't it?
And complexity can be solved for. The ideas and thoughts that come from diversity are a lot more complex, a lot more layered. They have perspectives that otherwise would not have come into play. And so by bringing all the variety of perspectives, you're actually coming out with the best solutions and outcomes.
Yeah. And I mean, for B2B businesses, for B2B businesses, we're really able to deliver results for the customer better, aren't we?
Absolutely. I think the narrative has been around the lack of diversity, and that's being talked a lot about, that we need to increase a variety of people in a working environment, whether it's gender or it's race. But what's not being talked about a lot is as to why. The reason for that is by diversifying teams, by diversifying ideas and thoughts, you're actually really arriving at best outcomes and at best, most complex solutions. And the companies can really thrive. They can be much more successful by bringing various perspectives to the table. That is not being talked enough about, and that is really important to address. It's not only bringing diverse people to the table, but why is it important? What does it actually bring to organizations in terms of humanity and success over time?
Yeah, absolutely, and that brings us to a point that we kind of have talked about, and that's that without an understanding or a knowledge of the strength of diversity, we don't feel empowered by it. Of course, we don't feel empowered by it. We feel powerless to the fact that we are diverse and the discrimination that sometimes comes with that. So, you know, how do you feel empowered by diversity and confident as a woman, as anyone really?
I think that couple of points. I think there's two sides to it. First, as a woman, as a minority woman, I had to find my voice, and I'm in technology industry, really dominated quite a bit by men, which should not be a surprise to anyone. But finding your voice is one place to start. But the bigger part of it, I think, as a woman and a minority, you have to be a lot more prepared, a lot more informed. You have to really put a lot more work into coming into the room and presenting your ideas. So that's a challenge. That has been a challenge to overcome. But on the flip side of that, once you overcome that challenge, I also feel as a woman, there's a lot of empowerment that comes with that. There's a lot of advantage of understanding your perspective, understanding what your voice is, finding it. And then those ideas really matter. And in the democratic process, I feel like we all have responsibility to express those ideas. So we have a variety of perspectives. And so for me, it has been a challenging journey, but also very satisfying at the same time and very empowering. And so the more you push into it, the more you challenge yourself to solve for that challenge of being a woman, being a minority in any environment. Later on, your voice really counts, and it's very empowering. It gives you a lot of confidence.
That's really flipping the narrative, isn't it?
Right. That's right. It's really seeing it as an advantage. After all the hard work and after all the extra prep that you have to do as a woman, that's just a given. It really becomes an advantage because you recognize the power of your voice. You recognize how empowered you are by bringing it to the table, by being unique and being maybe the only woman at the table. That is actually quite interesting, and it gives you a different perspective. And then eventually, as a result, you gain confidence.
You know, I think that's a link between a lot of the female leaders that I speak to, whether they're CMOs or in other executive or leadership positions. They are empowered and they are confident. It's hard to be confident all the time, and I'm sure they're not. I'm not confident all the time. I'm sure you're not confident all the time as well. But you know, it's something that you will share. As leaders, you're empowered by that diversity. And I think that's appreciating that diverse perspectives have strength.
Absolutely. I think that to your point, you can be confident all the time, but by being confident and it's contagious. It energizes other women. It brings other women to the table. They feel you have responsibility as a leader, and if you're a woman or any minority, you have responsibility in the leadership role to bring others to bring us others forward. That gives you even more confidence and more responsibility to really help others and mentor them on how to grow into that place of confidence, place of empowerment, and see it as their advantage, as their unique advantage that they can really benefit others with.
And, I mean, that's what this webcast is about. That's what this community is about. It's really about the fact that I was talking to all these incredible women and thinking it's unfair that I get all of this information and get to hear about and feel so empowered by their confidence, and so inspired by them, and kind of felt like I needed to share it with the larger community.
Yeah,
so.
I think that what you're doing is very important, and by exposing others to all kinds of various women of confidence or telling their stories, I think it really puts a perspective and a lens onto the fact that we're all the same. We all go through the same challenges. We all experience a lack of confidence at one point in life, or lack of empowerment. But there's a way forward from it, and so that's really what should empower women.
Yeah, and confidence in different situations as well. I mean, you can, of course, go through a really confident spurt, whether that's a year or 2 years or 5 years, and then you might have a less confident year. But also maybe in different situations, you're confident. Maybe you're more confident in, I don't know, in a boardroom situation. Maybe you're more confident speaking virtually to thousands of people, but it really varies. And I think accepting the fact that we're not confident all the time, and having kind of being still empowered by that diversity and keeping that in mind when we're not confident helps.
Absolutely. I don't think being confident is a requirement. I think it's something that comes with experience. It comes with successes. I think going through life experiencing failures, but also experiencing successes, gives you more confidence. So you have to try. You have to put big challenges in front of yourself and then solve for them. And then once you solve for them, you gain more confidence. So it's a cause and effect relationship. It builds one on top of another.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Kind of moving onto another area of the importance of diversity of thought. Marketing itself as an industry has a profound impact on society and culture, and the movements we champion, the people we promote, the campaigns we launch, they all influence the perceptions of humans around the world. And along with Hollywood and the media, marketing is a large contributor to gender and racial stereotyping. So how does diversifying marketing teams change this?
Again, it brings broader representation into your programs. It more accurately represents humanities. It makes the world and product more inclusive, more rich, with various perspectives and representations. You relate to something with how it represents you. And by increasing representation of ideas, thoughts, and the types of people we represent in marketing, we ultimately increase the appeal and connection people have with our product. And that is just a very simple truth. And so by bringing more people to the table to generate those ideas, you ultimately include the rest of humanity in your programming. The other people can see themselves in it better.
Yeah, that's right. And so we didn't speak about this, but you're a former professional Russian ballerina. You did not have quite a linear career path. So how did you find yourself at Qualcomm, and what did you take from your former career to the position you hold today? Because we didn't all come from marketing roles. We didn't all study marketing, but I think that we all learn from our experiences. Like you say, we have different experiences, and that diversity brings strength to any ideas.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I really enjoy very meaty challenges and solving for them. I think I'm a builder in life. So it comes with, my story of immigration and building, first generation immigrant in America, and I had to come here and build a new life for myself and my family. And as a former dancer, especially in ballet, after 10,000 hours of training in ballet, it rewires your brain. It truly does, just like music does. It changes how you think. It changes how you operate. It has not been talked about a lot, how ballet can actually change the functioning of your thinking. I think that the creative appeal of that and the desire to solve very complex challenges brought me to technology. And it wasn't a linear path. I didn't choose it for myself. I certainly chosen marketing because it really applies to the way I think. I enjoy strategy, and I really enjoy creative output of marketing. And so bringing all this together and the way that I think and the way I have been trained, as well as my discipline from my previous career, all of those things are really helped me solve for complexities in technology industry. And as a storyteller, I really enjoy taking that complexity from a product or technology that we're working on and then translating it into something relatable and accessible to people. And that's what storytelling is all about. So I believe that my former career really helped me with the way I think, the way I approach may not be always super conventional, but it certainly brings, again, into the room. I'm one of the diversified people that bring those ideas to the table.
Fantastic. That's absolutely right. And you did talk about the tech industry a little bit and how, your experience working as an executive at a tech company, which is historically quite male dominated. So, what is your advice to those who are in male dominated industries? Do you think that it's something that they really need to think about? Does it need to be front of mind when maybe when you're moving into a different industry? What are your thoughts around that?
I think it's all about finding your voice no matter where you are. And as you uncover your voice, you do have responsibility to bring your point of view to any environment, especially the environment that is filled with a majority of any sort. So it can be men, it can be, less diverse teams in terms of racial diversity. And so finding your voice and going through trials and failures is very important. But also knowing that you have empowerment as a woman. You do have an advantage of thought, of ideas, of unique point of view that you should bring to the table, no matter what it feels like, and confidence will ultimately follow. You will break through. You will have to work a little harder. You'll have to do a little more prep. You have to be more informed. You have to really do your homework. But at the end of all this, you get embraced. No matter what environment you're in, you just have to be very brave with that. It's not easy. Find good mentors that can guide you, somebody who's been through a challenge like that before, and get advice. I always guide women to find a strong woman mentor or a man. I also find that there's a lot of men champions who really champion women and want to understand how to support diversity, how to bring in new perspectives. So finding that support system and structure as you grow in your career can really help break through in those environments where you're probably the only woman at the table.
Yeah, and that's an important point, I think, when you are perhaps in a male-dominated team or industry, however it is. That doesn't mean you don't have support.
That's right.
There are some fantastic male champions, so many of them, in fact.
I would say that for me, it probably was a 70-30 rule. 70% of my champions were men, because most environments I worked in were male-dominated. But people who recognize talent or abilities and really are aware of the challenge of being in the minority, they bring out the best in others. So I think men and women can do it really well for those they mentor.
I think that's a fantastic point to end on. Thank you so much, Liya, for joining us. This is the Women in Marketing series with Liya Sharif. If you'd like to continue this conversation, I'll send through a link to join our LinkedIn community and the recordings tomorrow. My name is Jasmine Keys, and I will see you next time.